Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of the kingdom, I came with a word today, not from my mind, but from the Spirit. God is funding your life now. Stop worrying. You see, the problem is not lack of resources. The problem is lack of revelation. God does not begin anything until He has already completed it. So, if you are walking in an assignment from heaven, the provision is not on the way. It's already in place. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. That means He approved the budget before He gave you the breath. You don't need to beg for what's already been approved. You don't need to worry about what's already been released. What you need is alignment, because provision is attracted to position. When you stand where you're called to stand, you'll see what's been waiting for you all along. If God gave you the vision, He already assigned the provision. That is not a motivational phrase, it is a spiritual law. Heaven does not issue commands without accompanying resources. When God speaks a word into your spirit, that word is not empty, it is pregnant with power, strategy, and supply. The very command carries the capacity for its own fulfillment. God never tells you to move without already placing the support in your future. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment. You are not begging for what you need. You are discovering what's already been laid up for you. Provision in the kingdom is not something you chase, it's something you recognize. You don't have to manipulate your way into resources or hustle to fund a divine assignment. You don't have to convince people to believe in what God has already settled in eternity, because when God calls a person, He funds the call. And if you are truly assigned by God, you are already equipped with the invisible deposits that will manifest when you step into obedience. You are not empty. You are preloaded with everything necessary to fulfill your mission. Heaven has already transferred the funds. Your faith just has to access them. When God told Noah to build an ark, there was no lumber yard in sight, but the resources were in the environment. The wood was in the trees, the blueprint was in the mind of God, and the favor was with Noah. What unlocked it? Obedience. The moment Noah said yes to the assignment, provision was activated. The materials didn't precede the call preceded the materials. Why? Because God never finances disobedience. He funds purpose. And purpose does not need to be convinced to come. It only needs to be walked in. Think of Abraham. God said, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. There was no financial plan, no map, and no detailed itinerary. But there was a promise. And that promise was the down payment on provision. As Abraham moved, doors opened. As Abraham obeyed, blessings were unlocked. He met kings who gave him gold, cattle, and land. He found wells in dry places. He encountered divine connections. Not because he had a strategy, but because he had a word. And when you have a word from God, the entire system of heaven backs it up. Angels are dispatched. Favor is arranged. Provision is moved into place. The mistake many people make is waiting for the provision before they step into the assignment. But God does not function on man's schedule or man's logic. The kingdom operates by faith. And faith is the currency that pulls provision out of the invisible realm and into your reality. Faith doesn't wait to see the money in the bank. It moves like the money is already there. Faith doesn't wait for the people to applaud. It builds while being mocked. Because faith knows that God doesn't tease His children. If He gave you the vision, He already wrote the check. This is why we must shift our mindset from striving to trusting. You are never created to stress over what God already solved. Your job is not to figure it all out. It's to believe what He said. Some of the things you're praying for have already been released, but they're waiting for your movement. Provision often hides behind obedience. When Elijah obeyed and went to the brook, God had already commanded the ravens to feed him. Elijah didn't have to catch the birds. He just had to show up. The provision met him at the location of obedience. And when the brook dried up, God had already arranged for a widow in Zarephath to sustain him. Elijah's supply was mobile because God's word is never confined to a single source. We keep thinking provision is something we need to earn or work for. But in the kingdom, provision follows purpose like a shadow. You don't see it until you move toward the light. And the light is the instruction of God. The more you align your life with the call, the more resources you will see flowing into your hands. Not because you're chasing them, but because they're chasing the call on your life. God is not improvising your life. He is not figuring things out as you go. He is not surprised by your needs or unprepared for your journey. Before you were born, He mapped it out. Before you ever had the vision, He planted the supply. The reason you're still standing despite the battles, the losses, the droughts, is because heaven has been funding you all along. You are not trying to become chosen, you were born chosen. That reality shifts everything. In the kingdom of God, identity is not earned, it is inherited. You are not a random soul wandering through life hoping that God notices you. You are a divine solution sent into time, carrying a purpose wrapped in a name. Before you ever performed, succeeded, or failed, God had already marked you. And it is that mark, that identity, that authorizes the resources of heaven to locate you. Provision does not respond to begging, it responds to identity. When you know who you are, the atmosphere around you shifts. Favor begins to find you, doors begin to open. Not because you forced them, but because your name is on them. This is why the enemy doesn't primarily attack your finances, your relationships, or your reputation. He attacks your identity. Because if he can distort your self-perception, he can delay your manifestation. As long as you see yourself as ordinary, you will attract ordinary provision. But the moment you realize you are chosen, anointed, and appointed, you step into a dimension where provision flows not from labor, but from placement. Sons and daughters of the kingdom don't hustle for survival, they walk in inheritance. And inheritance is activated by identity. When Jesus was baptized, before he preached a single sermon or performed one miracle, the Father said, "This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased." That declaration was not for Jesus' benefit, it was for the systems of the earth and the powers of darkness. It was heaven's legal announcement that this man carried authority. And from that moment, the miracles began to unfold, not because he tried harder, but because his identity had been confirmed. Identity always precedes influence. Identity precedes impact. And most importantly, identity precedes provision. So many people are chasing money, opportunities, and connections, hoping that one day they'll qualify for their dream. But in the kingdom, you don't qualify by chasing, you qualify by awakening. When you awaken to your divine identity, the supply chain of heaven begins to activate on your behalf. It's It's not magic, it's legal. You are not begging for something external. You are aligning with something internal. The identity you carry carries its own ecosystem of resources. This is why Joseph, even in prison, attracted favor. He never stopped being chosen. His identity didn't change because of his location. He was still the dreamer. He was still the interpreter. And because he remained aligned with who God said he was, even Pharaoh had to make room for him. Joseph didn't have to manipulate his way to the palace. His identity carried the authority to bring him from the pit to the throne. And with that identity came access, power, and provision. We live in a world that constantly tells you to become something, become successful, become influential, become wealthy. But the kingdom tells you to remember who you already are. You're not becoming chosen, you are chosen. You're not trying to get God's attention, you already have it. You're not attempting to force doors open, your name is already written on certain keys. But until you believe that, you live beneath your inheritance. Provision is voice activated, and your true voice only emerges when your true identity is known. That's why confusion about identity results in confusion about destiny. You can't walk in clarity about your assignment while being cloudy about your identity. But once you know who you are, a royal citizen, a kingdom agent, a divine representative, you will begin to command the attention of the resources assigned to you. Why? Because provision follows design. When you function according to the blueprint God wrote for you, provision becomes automatic. You're not pulling it in, it's being drawn to your signal. Look at David, a shepherd boy, invisible to man, but not to God. The moment he stepped onto the battlefield with Goliath, everything changed. Why? Because he wasn't just carrying a sling, he was carrying identity. He knew he wasn't just a boy with a stone, he was a chosen one with a covenant. And because of that covenant, victory and elevation were inevitable. He didn't need armor, he didn't need applause, he just needed alignment with who he truly was. If you ever truly realize who you are in God, what you carry and the authority backing you, you'll stop chasing after provision and start commanding it. Resources aren't reluctant to come. They're just waiting on the real you to stand up. The you that is unshaken by circumstances. The you that doesn't need validation from others. The you that knows heaven has already signed off on your assignment. And because of that identity, your destiny is not just possible, it's already funded. Worry is the enemy of trust. In the kingdom of God, worry is not just a weakness or a natural human response. It is a contradiction to divine order. When you worry, you are operating outside the boundaries of kingdom citizenship. Worry is illegal because it violates the very nature of your relationship with the King. It suggests that the one who called you cannot carry you. It implies that your Father in heaven is not trustworthy. And that, my friend, is not just dangerous, it's dishonor. Worry is not neutral, it's corrosive. It slowly erodes your faith, corrodes your peace, and blinds your vision. It is not a harmless thought pattern. It is a toxic belief system that says God might not come through. But here's the truth. God has never failed, not once, in all of eternity. His track record is flawless. So when a child of the King chooses to worry, they are not just being emotionally overwhelmed, they are spiritually misaligned. You can't claim kingdom authority and then submit to the mindset of orphans. Worry is the language of those who don't know they're covered. Jesus made it clear in the Sermon on the Mount, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, drink, or wear. That's not a suggestion. That's a command. He didn't say try not to worry. He said do not worry. Why? Because worry is unauthorized behavior in the life of someone who knows who their Father is. Worry means you are trying to carry what you were never designed to hold. It means you're sitting in the driver's seat when God already gave you the promise that He would lead. The kingdom is built on trust. And trust is not a feeling, it is a decision. It is a posture of the heart that says, even when I don't see how, I know who. You don't have to see the outcome to have peace. You just need to know the source. And when your confidence is rooted in the unshakable nature of God, worry becomes unnecessary. You can walk in both fear and faith at the same time. You have to choose your position. And in the kingdom, your legal position is rest, not stress. Worry is often disguised as responsibility. People think that worrying means they care or that they're being realistic. But caring is not the same as carrying. You were never called to carry the weight of your own life. That's what the cross was for. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Rest is your kingdom right. Rest is the manifestation of trust. And rest is where revelation flows. You cannot hear clearly from God while your mind is full of noise from worry. Anxiety drowns out divine instruction. Peace, on the other hand, creates the stillness necessary for wisdom. You can't walk in authority while bowing to anxiety. The two cannot coexist. Anxiety paralyzes, authority mobilizes. When you know who sent you, you stop stressing about what's against you. Worry makes you a prisoner to circumstances, but trust makes you a steward of peace. And peace is not just an emotional state, it is a spiritual weapon. It confuses the enemy. It disrupts fear. It invites the supernatural. Every time you choose worry over trust, you are trading your inheritance for a lie. You're acting like a servant when God has called you a son. You're panicking like a refugee when you are a citizen of the kingdom. Worry is not just unproductive, it's unauthorized. It gives the enemy a foothold in your thoughts. But when you shut the door to worry, you open the door to divine solutions. Heaven responds to faith, not fear. Heaven releases provision, not to panic, but to purpose. That's why the enemy loves to flood your mind with what-if scenarios. What if the money doesn't come? What if the door doesn't open? What if the diagnosis gets worse? But those questions are rooted in fear, not faith. Faith flips the script. What if God moves suddenly? What if the breakthrough is already in motion? What if the answer has already been released in the unseen realm and your trust is the key that unlocks its arrival? You were never created to carry the weight of the unknown. That weight belongs to the King. He knows your needs before you speak them. He has seen the end from the beginning. He is not pacing in heaven wondering how your story will unfold. He wrote the story, and because He wrote it, He's responsible for its fulfillment. Worry is what happens when you forget that the author is also the finisher. Heaven's economy is not in recession. Earth may be shaking, but the throne of God is not. Earth may have inflation, lack, and limitation, but heaven does not operate by earthly systems. God does not fund based on conditions. He funds based on covenant. The kingdom of God is not tied to Wall Street. interest rates, or GDP reports. It is governed by an unshakable covenant that was established before the foundation of the world. That covenant does not fluctuate with oil prices or political instability. That covenant does not downgrade your destiny based on economic trends. When you are in covenant with God, your provision is protected by something far greater than the stock market. It is protected by the word of the King. The world measures by scarcity. Heaven operates by abundance. The world tells you to hold back, to save, to hedge. The kingdom tells you to sow, to release, to trust. The world says the more you give, the less you'll have. Heaven says the more you give, the more you activate. The world trains you to hoard out of fear of not having enough. The kingdom trains you to release out of trust that there's always more where that came from. You cannot walk in supernatural provision with a survival mindset. You must see beyond the limits of earth and tap into the limitless economy of heaven. When famine hit the land in the days of Isaac, people panicked. They scattered, they relocated. But Isaac sowed in the land during the famine, and in the same year he reaped 100-fold. Why? Because the economy of the covenant overrides the crisis of the land. While others were shrinking back, the covenant man was advancing. While others were experiencing drought, Isaac was experiencing overflow. Not because of his strategy, but because of his status. He was a covenant carrier, and covenant always outranks climate. Your father owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He's not waiting on the economy to improve so he can bless you. He's not checking the forecast before he releases favor. He doesn't need a bank's permission to deposit into your life. God does not consult earthly systems before deciding how much to pour into your hands. He pours based on the assignment He gave you and the identity He placed in you. The amount of provision flowing into your life has nothing to do with the economy. It has everything to do with the covenant. You must renew your mind to this truth. Provision is not seasonal, it's supernatural. The same God who rained manna in the wilderness can release opportunity in a recession. The same God who brought water from a rock can bring strategy from a struggle. Lack does not intimidate Him. Closed doors don't frustrate Him. Drought does not limit Him. He doesn't just make a way, He is the way. So when the earth says there is not enough, heaven says, I am more than enough. This is why kingdom citizens must be careful not to adopt the language of the world. The world says times are hard, but we say God is faithful. The world says money is tight, but we say our God supplies all our needs. The world says better play it safe, but we say we walk by faith. You can't speak recession and expect abundance. Your mouth is either aligning with earth's lack or heaven's overflow, and heaven responds to agreement. When you agree with the covenant, you activate what the covenant contains. Look at the feeding of the 5,000. The disciples saw lack, 5 loaves and 2 fish, but Jesus saw sufficiency. Why? Because His eyes were fixed on the Father, not the facts. He didn't pray, Lord, we don't have enough. He lifted the bread and gave thanks. Thanksgiving is the language of those who live above the economy. Gratitude opens up multiplication. Jesus didn't ask for more. He blessed what He had, and what He had became more than enough. That's the economy of heaven. It's not driven by how much you start with. It's driven by who you trust with it. So when you see prices rising, don't panic. Remember your covenant. When you hear the news speak of financial collapse, speak of divine provision. You are not sustained by your salary, you're sustained by the source. Your job is a channel, but God is the supplier. If that channel dries up, another will open. Because in the kingdom, resources flow according to purpose, not paycheck. And when purpose is in motion, provision has no choice but to show up. You were never meant to live limited by the world's economy. You are a citizen of another realm. You are backed by the treasury of heaven, and that treasury is never empty. Provision is hidden in obedience. In the kingdom of God, God rarely shows you the entire blueprint before you begin. He gives you the first step. And it's not because He's withholding, it's because He's training. Obedience is not just about morality, it's about movement. It is the language of faith that tells heaven, I trust you even when I can't trace you. And when you obey, you don't just move closer to destiny, you unlock the provision that has been waiting for your arrival. God doesn't fund fantasy, He funds obedience. The next instruction always carries the next wave of provision. We often want the resources before the movement, but God says move and the resources will meet you there. Provision is assigned to obedience. It's geotagged to your assignment. That means if you delay, provision remains untouched. If you disobey, provision is rerouted. But if you step forward, even if it doesn't make sense, you step into the stream of supernatural supply that was waiting for your yes. You will never discover what God has stored up for you on the other side of fear until you decide to walk through it in obedience. When God told Abraham to go to a land, He would show him. He didn't hand him a map. He didn't explain how long it would take, how much it would cost, or where the provision would come from. He said, go. That was the instruction. And Abraham's obedience to that one word began a journey that unlocked generations of blessing. Why? Because provision is progressive. It is layered. It unfolds with movement. As long as Abraham stayed, nothing shifted, but when he moved, the blessing moved with him. Obedience creates motion in the spiritual realm. We want God to provide before we obey. But God provides through our obedience. Remember the widow in 1 Kings 17? She had just enough flour and oil to prepare one last meal for herself and her son. But the prophet Elijah gave her a word from the Lord. Make me a cake first. That didn't make logical sense. It sounded inconsiderate. But obedience doesn't wait for logic. It leans into trust. She obeyed the instruction. And as a result, her flour never ran out, her oil never dried up, and her household was sustained in the midst of famine. The miracle was already prepared. It was just hidden inside her obedience. Every time God gives an instruction, it is pregnant with provision. You may not see the funds, the resources, or the support until you take the step, but when you do, the door opens. That's because your obedience proves that you are aligned with heaven's agenda. And heaven only funds what is in agreement with its will. God is not obligated to sponsor your preferences, but He is fully committed to resourcing your purpose. And purpose only comes alive in the presence of obedience. Jesus told the servants at the wedding in Cana to fill the jars with water. It seemed unrelated to the problem. They needed wine, not water. But they obeyed, and as they poured, the water became wine. Notice, the miracle didn't happen when they questioned. It happened when they obeyed. The transformation came in the process of doing what He said. Sometimes your greatest breakthrough is hidden in a simple instruction. Your next level may not require more effort, it may require more obedience. Some people are praying for God to release abundance, but God is waiting on them to release obedience. You cannot skip the step and expect the supply. God is not playing games with your destiny. He's building trust. He wants to see if He can trust you to follow instructions without full information. Can you build the ark before the rain comes? Can you step into the Jordan before the waters part? Can you speak to the bones before they come alive? That's the kind of obedience that attracts heaven's resources. Provision does not show up to spectators, it shows up to movers. When Peter stepped out of the boat, he walked on water. But if he had waited for the water to turn into a solid road, he would have missed the miracle. The miracle was in the motion. That's how God works. He funds the faith walk, not the comfort zone. As long as you are waiting for full clarity, you are blocking full provision. God reveals enough to move, and He releases more as you go. The next instruction may look small, inconvenient, or even irrational, but if it's from God, it's loaded. And when you honor that instruction, you tap into provision that was prepared before time began. The chosen ones live from a source, not a salary. This is the posture of those who know who they are in the kingdom. You were never designed to live based on a paycheck, a position, or a promotion. Your identity is not tied to your job title, your income bracket, or your resume. Those things may change, but your source does not. The moment you became a child of God, you were connected to a supernatural supply line that is not affected by economic downturns, job loss, or financial instability. Your job is a channel, it is not your source. And when you understand that, you stop panicking when one channel closes, because you know the source can open another. The enemy wants you to think that your provision is dependent on human systems. He wants you to idolize the paycheck and fear the loss of it. But in the kingdom, your provision doesn't come from the job, it flows through it. And if God can feed Elijah with ravens and sustain him by a brook, then surely He can sustain you beyond your employer's approval or the government's assistance. When one brook dries up, He already has another instruction ready. The job may be a method, but God is the master. People who know their source live with stability, even when circumstances shift. They don't crumble when layoffs happen. They don't spiral when the budget gets tight. Why? Because their security was never in the paycheck. It was in the promise. And the promise is that my God shall supply all your needs according to His riches in glory in Christ Jesus. That verse doesn't say according to your boss's generosity, or according to your side hustle, or according to how many clients signed this month. It says His riches in glory. That's your source. That's your bank. That's your anchor. When you're truly walking as one of God's chosen, you begin to see money differently. You stop chasing provision and start aligning with purpose. Because where there is purpose, there will always be provision. The assignment attracts the resources. When God gives the vision, He funds the mission. But if you live like your job is your God, you will always live in fear of lack. You'll hoard instead of sow. You'll stress instead of rest. You'll compromise instead of trust. But when you know God is your source, your posture changes. You give freely. You move boldly. You rest deeply. Because you know you're not sustained by man. You're sustained by the Master. Jesus lived from the source. He didn't have a salary. He didn't run a business. He didn't have a savings account. Yet He always had what He needed, whether it was food for thousands, tax money from a fish's mouth or favor from strangers. He operated from the supply of the Spirit, not the systems of the world. That same Spirit lives in you. That same access is available to you. You were not reborn to be a slave to the world's economy. You were reborn to operate from heaven's economy. And in heaven, there is no shortage, no recession, and no delay. You cannot live like a chosen one while thinking like a hired one. Hired ones wait for wages. Chosen ones walk in inheritance. Hired ones panic when the check is late. Chosen ones rest in the word that never fails. If the job ends, the inheritance continues. If the business dries up, the supply doesn't, because the source is not a stream, it's a fountain, and it never runs dry. Don't confuse the instrument with the investor. Don't confuse the method with the master. That paycheck is just a delivery system, but the one who authors your life is the one who funds it. And he is not broke. He is not stingy. He is not stressed. He owns everything, lacks nothing, and gives freely. Your responsibility is not to obsess over where it's coming from. It's to trust who it's coming from. When your mind is fixed on the source, you stop being manipulated by temporary circumstances. You stop being controlled by fear of financial loss. You start living from a higher place. You begin to move in faith rather than freeze in worry. Because you know deep down that the hand that called you is the hand that will carry you. And no system of man can cancel the supply of God. So I came here to tell you this. Stop living like an orphan in the kingdom of your Father. You are not trying to survive. You are appointed to advance. You are not scraping by. You are fully funded. You are not here begging for scraps. You are seated at the table of the King. Your provision is not coming from luck, labor, or lotteries. It's coming from alignment. It's coming from covenant. It's coming from your identity. God is not trying to decide whether to bless you. He's already decreed it. The question is not, will God provide? The question is, will you trust Him enough to obey? Will you stop checking your bank account to measure your potential? Will you stop worshiping your job and start working your assignment? Will you silence the voice of fear and rise up as a citizen of the kingdom? Because the chosen don't wait for the conditions. They move with conviction. The chosen don't beg, they command. The chosen don't panic, they praise. Why? Because we know where our help comes from. Our help is not in the government. Our help is not in the paycheck. Our help is not in the system. Our help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. You are chosen, you are marked, and you are funded. Now act like it.